Do you feel older?
Well, I've got so much more stuff than I did in my 50s. So I've got this, a bag that you gave me, which says, spread mayo, not hate.
I was looking for a bag.
That said spread mayo, not hate.
I wasn't looking for that. I was trying to find an Elvis bag and a Clash bag and all those kind of things to put your discs in. That was the only one that I could find that I'd get on time. All the others were like delivered by Christmas.
So for context, I stayed at Simon's last night,
Yes.
as I would usually do on a Tuesday, and having just celebrated a birthday. And
Your 70th birthday.
My 70th birthday, yeah. Here are the presents that I was presented with. The bag that said spread mayo, not hate. Vinyl copy of TRB Power in the Darkness, which brilliantly...
Tom Robinson Band. Okay,
Tom Robinson Band. Comes with the original stencil.
How about that?
Which says at the bottom, this stencil is not meant for spraying on public property, which means...
You can imagine management said, we better put that in.
Immediately spray. Gang of Four Entertainment. Top news, I'm currently working on a band called Gang of Three, in which me and my friend Simon Booth and AN other person are going to play the whole of Entertainment from beginning to end.
Yeah, well...
Whether people like it or not.
Another astute purchase, can I say, by myself.
The Green Day album, which is this means a lot to me because you know this because you were...
That's why I bought it.
Yes, you were texting with the good lady Professor Her indoors.
Took Child 2. No, she didn't tell me about Green Day. I just saw it and thought, I know you went to see Green Day.
I did. And I took Child 2 and Glenn Matlock came up. And I went, Child 2, this is Glenn Matlock. And Child 2 went, who?
Exactly, because they know nothing.
It's very young.
Kids.
And then this, which is the Sparks' new masterpiece, spectacular new masterpiece, which is the girl is crying in her latte.
Sad.
And I also got this fantastic Sparks t-shirt, which I'm wearing. So I was absolutely cock-a-hoop. But my favourite thing is spread mayo, not war.
Not hate.
Not
hate often leads to war.
Hate, yes. Hate and war, in fact, is a track off the first Clash album.
So you'll be able to
Thank you, that was really lovely. And, and you gave me a curry last night, a jackfruit curry.
Jackfruit biryani.
Wow. That jackfruit tastes like meat.
Well, it was actually chicken, but I thought, let's just call it jackfruit.
Well, you said that the first time you ordered the jackfruit biryani, you sent it back because you thought they had sent you meat. And they went, no,
this is
jackfruit. It's jackfruit. I've had jackfruit before, but it's never tasted that meaty.
Yeah, it was very good, actually.
You ever seen Motel Hell?
No.
In which they make these lovely sausages. Anyway, they make them. It turns out they're cannibals made of people.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Well, I can't guarantee that it wasn't that. But anyway, it was a particularly fine. But also, we got you on an eating day.
You did, yes. So
because today isn't an eating day, isn't it?
How's that Danish going?
Should I hide the Danish?
No, I can just listen to you.
But the thing is, if you're not on an eating day, if I sit and eat a Danish, is
fine. No, my willpower is. You said me and your mate from Grace Hits Radio,
Matt,
we're doing the same thing, which is that we find it easier to do the
just have nothing.
Have nothing, yeah. Because the idea of having 600 calories is like, oh, for heaven's sake. You have 200 calories of endgame beans and you lose the will to live.
Would you consider 5 and 2? Like not eating for 5 and only eating for 2? Or maybe just eat for 1?
Anyway, how am I looking?
Impeccable and fabulous.
How's my hair?
Slimline and gorgeous.
Fantastic.
Is that enough praise?
Yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for the records. It was great.
I'm sorry I wasn't here again last week, but
you had other stuff to do.
I did. By the way, thanks very much for everyone who's got in touch about the top quality merchandise, which is available via the website. Now available in Australia and in the United States of America.
Wow.
And I feel as though it's a real statement piece. You wander out through Texas, for example.
You got this.
With a Vanguardista cool water bottle, because you probably need one in Texas at the moment.
Drinking from mine now. It's delicious. Mm.
Is that particular?
It's kept the ice so cold.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That makes it particularly
That was the ice out of your fridge.
Yeah, that's also true. Anyway, so the merch is available. It can get sold out occasionally. We will restock, but now available to listeners in Australia and the United States. What are you going to be reviewing?
A whole bunch of stuff. Name Me Lawand, which is a terrific documentary.
Name Me what?
Name Me Lawand.
Name
Me Lawand.
Okay.
Yeah. Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is the Mission Impossible movie, and Elemental with our special guest.
Who's the director of Elemental. His name is Peter Sohn, and you'll hear from him and we'll discuss Elemental. And
very moving interview.
It is actually. I think it's the only interview I have ever done, probably ever, but certainly for this show, where the interviewee tears up, not through rage at the inadequate questions, but just because of the emotional content.
He thinks my life has come to this. I'm sitting in a room talking to this idiot.
Correct. That often happens, but it's never reduced anyone to tears. Anyway, so we'll talk to Peter Sohn in this particular take. And in the extra takes, more of this complete nonsense. Weekend watch list, weekend not list. 5 which are great and 3 you'll hate. Bonus reviews, including...
Smoking Causes Coughing and The Damned Don't Cry.
Pretentious Moi is currently Mark Kermode 16, Mark Kermode 15. A lot of people missed this last week due to the fact I had to catch a plane. Also, they missed the laughter lift because I had to catch a plane in the shortened, redacted versions. One Frame Back is films with motorcycle stunts inspired by the incredible Tom Cruise.
A real Tom Cruise really leaping off a real mountain on a real motorbike.
Yes. You can support us via Apple Podcasts. You can head to extratakes.com for all non-fruit related devices.
And Take It or Leave It, you decide, is the most Mark Kermode program that has ever been made.
Which is?
White House Plumbers.
Details on that in Take 2 if you're already a Vanguardista. As always,
we salute you.
We do. Rooftop Film Club. I just need to mention this. They've released some rather special tickets this week.
Have they?
Yes, they have.
Have they released them off of a rooftop?
We've curated a weekend of movies at their Peckham site on Saturday the 19th and Sunday the 20th of August. There's a whole day of science fiction, a day of rom-com, special exclusive intros recorded by us before each film, incredible extra content.
They're amazing. We recorded them right here in the studio.
Saturday's science fiction days, Back to the Future, Arrival and Interstellar, which you have to say is...
That's quite the triple bill.
Sunday's rom-com day, Notting Hill, You've Got Mail and When Harry Met Sally.
Quite the triple bill.
There's nowhere else to go from there. Rooftop Film Club has comfy deck chairs, iconic London views, irresistible food and drink.
I hear the bar is great. I hear the bar is really good and open now.
Head to kermodemayo.com to get your tickets. Also still offering our listeners 2-for-1 tickets across their London sites on Wednesdays throughout their summer programme. Just use the code THETAKE at checkout to redeem that offer.
I just ask, are we getting a cut of the bar takings?
Well, we do,
because we have talked the bar up. We have raised the bar.
Emails, right, correspondence to correspondence@kermodemayo.com.
Spell it how you want.
Richie says, on the subject of films that should have finished earlier, can I throw in 10 Cloverfield Lane, please?
Oh, right. Okay.
There are spoilers ahead. It's a tense psychological thriller where the overarching question is, can John Goodman's character be trusted? Has the world ended outside? Is the air poison or is he lying? The moment that Mary Elizabeth Winstead leaves the bunker and takes her first breath is the perfect moment to cut to black, leaving the truth ambiguous and left to the audience to interpret the actions of the characters. I, in fact, did this when I showed the film to my parents. Instead, we have a ridiculous alien out of nowhere fight scene that makes no sense at all and completely destroys the incredible tension of the rest of the film.
Well done for flagging up the spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, he does say spoilers ahead.
Oh, he does say spoilers ahead.
That's
sorry.
why I said
That's why you said it. Sorry, I briefly zoned out.
Oh, right. Okay. Can you let me know when you're zoning out in future? Tickety Tonkin down with lying misogynist influencers facing trial in Europe. Thank you, Richie.
Very good.
Paul Baxter in Chester. Dear Doctors, on the subject of films that should have finished before the ending that was released, the one that always irritates me is the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I believe the ending was supposed to be when Dr. Bennell is on the freeway screaming at motorists, "They're here already, you're next, you're next," which is perfectly in line with the paranoid tone of the film. The ending that the studio demanded be added and the framing scene added at the start suggests that everything is going to be okay and changes the whole mood of the film completely. Just imagine The Mist. If after the troops arrived, it actually turned out that David was a poor shot and had missed his son in the car. What a terrible, terrible, miserable film The Mist is.
But somehow brilliant. And it is brilliant.
No.
I mean,
and it's the most depressing ending of any film ever. Of all time.
Yes, but it's astonishing that they went through with it. Also, it is a Toby Jones film, Hello to Toby Jones. And if you watch it in the black and white version, it's even more haunting.
Paul says, hello to Jason, and up with a diversity of hair colours apart from mousy-coloured comb-overs on top of orange faces. All right, I can't imagine what you're talking about there. Correspondence at kermode.mayo.com. Tell us something that is out and interesting.
Name Me Lawand, which is a documentary by Edward Lovelace. It is a story about a boy's struggle to find his voice. So Lawand is a Kurdish boy whose family left Iraq when he was 5. They were hoping to find a better life. They spent long period of time in a refugee camp. Lawand was born deaf and his communication skills were very, very limited until he arrived in the UK and was enrolled in Derby's Royal School for the Deaf. And here he started to flourish. He had this kind of radical change in which he learned sign language and he started to be able to express himself. And Ed Lovelace captures this he worked on this documentary over a period of years, and he learned signing as well so that he could communicate. And so the documentary is a real labor of love. And in it, we see the fortunes of this young boy change, and we see him come out of his shell, and he smiles, and his smile lights up the room. And I mean, it's really transformative. And then just when it looks like everything is on track, the Home Office begin proceedings to deport him and his family, saying that they don't have the right to be here. So what then happens is it turns into, I mean, in the most literal sense of the word, it's a fight for his future. So I don't know whether you remember, but some years ago, I reviewed a documentary about Edwyn Collins called The Possibilities Are Endless, which is that after Edwyn Collins had his stroke, he was finding his way back to his life with the help of Grace Maxwell, his partner and, soulmate. And I said the thing about that documentary is it's basically, it's a love story. It's a love story first and foremost. And the connection between those two people is brilliant. And one of the things that Edward Lovelace says is that documentaries should have all the possibilities of all the genres of cinema, action and drama and melodrama and all that sort of stuff. So one of the things that his film has tried to do is to use sort of expressionistic visuals to take us inside the world of its subject. I'm going to show you a very brief clip which just gives you a hint of what I'm trying to talk about. Then we'll talk about it a little bit more. Have a look at this. So obviously, if you're listening to this as a podcast, what you're not seeing is the clips of him signing, telling his story, talking about how he used to be bullied, how he's now finding himself and finding his own personality, and really starting to express himself. And I interviewed the director on stage at the BFI, and one of the things he talked about was the Julian Schnabel film, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. And the way in which that film had sort of attempted, it's a drama, but it's a drama based on a true story, based on a book, that was attempting to take you into the experience of the central character. And he talked about that as being like one of the things that he used as a reference point for this. I think it's really terrific. I have cited this thing so many times before about Roger Ebert saying that, cinema is a machine for creating empathy. And if you want proof of that, look at Name Me Lawand. It is a film that absolutely tells a true story with a subject at the center of it who is actually amazingly cinematic. I mean, you just saw in those brief clips, you know what I mean about when he smiles. It's
absolutely.
It's like
he looks like a young Timothée Chalamet. That's what he looks like.
Actually, yes. Yeah, but way more
aged like 10, 11, 12.
Exactly. And he's got this incredibly engaging film. One of the things that's interesting about cinema is the way in which cinema attempts to catch the emotions by looking at people's faces and attempting to read people's faces. And I think he has an amazingly expressive face. Anyway, this is a terrific documentary. It's a really, really fine film. I can't recommend it enough. And I mean, obviously, there's there are things in it that are dark and difficult, but it is a really moving, ultimately uplifting story. I would just advise anyone to seek it out because it really does that thing about showing you how cinema can show you someone else's experience and tell you a story that will enrich your life.
And is it cinematic?
It is cinematic, and I would, if you can see it on the big screen, do, because it's, as I was trying to sort of say with that clip, so much of it is to do with the way in which the film, in a very expressionistic way, attempts to capture his experience.
And if you said, when Mark was saying, if you're listening to this as a podcast, you thought, well, of course I'm listening to it as a podcast, it's because
the show is also on YouTube.
It's also all on YouTube. So.
Which would seem like a good moment to unbox. Simon, have you got the cardboard box that you were given?
This?
Yes. So we were going to unbox this last week, but you couldn't be bothered to get here.
No.
What is it, Simon?
Oh, I have no idea. It looks like a set of scales.
A set of scales, yes, especially for me in the studio. This is from YouTube.
Oh, right. Okay.
Hold it up to the camera for the people on the radio.
I'm going to take it out of his shiny...
Hold it up to that camera, apparently, according to Lily. Lily, who's hiding in the corner and thinks we can't see her, but we can.
Lily is actually hiding in the studio all the time. It says, presented to Kermode and Mayo's Take for passing 100,000 subscribers on Super YouTube.
There we go.
There you go.
So that's why I was saying,
what do we do with it? I'm going to take this home and put it with all.
We have to
all the
like
Sony
all
awards.
the other awards that we have to share it. You get 6 months of it. I get 6 months of it. We're going to put it up in the office. Apparently, we're not taking it home. So there we go.
But I might just take it home.
Yeah. Name Me Lawand. Go see it. It's fab.
Okay, and if you want to see more of that clip, it's also on the YouTube version of this particular show.
Over 100,000 subscribers.
Apparently so. Still to come, Mark, what are we going to be reviewing?
We're going to be reviewing Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 and Elemental with our special guest.
Who's the director of that Pixar movie, Peter Sohn. And we're going to be back before you can say, what could be said at all can be said clearly. And whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. Ludwig Wittgenstein, who was a beery swine, who was just as sloshed as Schlegel. And yes, welcome back. If you had the ads, and if you didn't have the ads,
are we back?
We're back.
Oh, sorry, you just dropped straight in there.
I think that's the way to be. Okay. And there is a new social media engine. Which is called Threads, which is part of the Instagram Zuckerberg Twitter killer idea. So we will have a Kermode and Mayo presence right there. So so by the time
this drops,
Threads
it will have
is
happened.
Up.
Yeah.
So
Threads.
If you've gone to Threads from wherever, or if you've just on Threads as well as everything else, then Kermode and Mayo's Take will be there. We have our presence there now.
What will our Threads handle be?
Kermode and Mayo's Take.
Is it at Kermode and Mayo's Take? Is it? We're looking into it.
As it hasn't been launched, we don't really know.
No, because we're recording this on Wednesday. But both you and I have downloaded the app because it hasn't downloaded yet because it won't download until tomorrow. But we've got a thing which says stand by.
Yes. So it's on the way. So there will be, however you have to do it, if you're on Threads, look for Kermode and Mayo's Take because we'll be there.
And even if you don't want to ever use it, just use it to annoy Elon Musk.
Yes. That seems like a very sensible
Just literally
idea.
download it just to annoy the stench of Musk.
Here's an email from Eve Aura, aged 29 2/3. Mark and Simon, this is the second email I've written to you. The first was many moons ago, expressing an ill-timed bout of altitude adjustment lachrymosity syndrome on a plane whilst rewatching, perhaps for the 10th time, the film Notting Hill. Whilst I was thrilled to hear Simon read out my email in his wonderful dulcet tones, my biggest joy was being able to ring my dad, my initiator into the church, and tell him at last I had finally made it. My dad, David Betts, had already had his own email read out on your show, detailing a trip to his local cinema in 1979, age 17, with a pal, and giving fake birthdays to try and get in to see Alien.
Excellent. So you have to learn your birthday. How old are you? When were you born?
He passed the rigorous policing by the cinema attendee, but alas, his pal did not. My dad left him to it and went to see Alien anyway, which is exactly what you'd have done.
Exactly. How did he fail? He had one job.
Since joining, maybe he looked like he was 12.
But that never stopped them.
Since joining my dad's pew, your podcast has been the soundtrack to many shared moments in my life with my dad. Long journeys up the M5 for university open days, hours spent in the kitchen learning how many garlic cloves to put in a curry. Spoiler, if it's under 6, you're doing it wrong. Really? and sleepy, sunshine-soaked afternoons in the garden over long summer holidays. My dad was an enormous movie fan, so mine and my sister's film education was a serious endeavour. He gave us heroes like Princess Leia, the Dread Pirate Roberts, very good.
Very good.
Elwood and Jake Blues, Sam Gamgee, Wall-E, John Keating, and of course, Ellen Ripley.
Very good.
Our world changed in late 2018 when my dad was diagnosed with a rare chronic cancer. It is a pain like no other watching someone you love grow sick, but we shared a lot in the almost 5 years that he was unwell. My sister Maz's wedding, then 2 years later my own, countless movie nights, twilight evenings with my sister turning over vinyl like precious stones, and one final... is the plural of vinyl vinyls?
Vinyls.
Okay. Sister turning over vinyls like precious stones, and one final trip to the cinema to see Avatar: The Way of Water. He died on April the 19th, 2023, shattered our hearts completely. To quote the wonderful Andrew Garfield on the loss of his own beloved mum, the quote, "I hope this grief stays with me because it is all the unexpressed love I didn't get to tell her." And we told my dad every day just how much we loved him. My dad's life was one so woven with stories and melodies and colour that it means I can't spend an hour without thinking of him, because he is in everything that brings me joy. What a gift that is to leave the people you love. When I hear you both, I hear my dad and all the wonderful gifts he gave us. Sincerely, thank you. And as always, keep up the good work. From Eve Aura, as I said, 29 2/3. By the way...
What a lovely email.
You want the killer? The killer's in the PS.
Oh, yeah.
To Mark, I took my dad as my +1 to see the Dodge Brothers play the Bath Festival several years ago.
No.
I was the slightly annoying young woman filming your performance for the entire festival. After the show, my dad met you first and stole my opening Hello to Jason line. He left me his Dodge Brothers t-shirt, and it's one of my favourite possessions, so thank you for that too.
Wow.
As I say,
I hope we were good.
We were given that email. I was given that email to read at the top of the show, and I said, "Can we?" It's a very
important show opener.
It's the show opener. It's a very important email. Can we give it some heft by leaving it just a little bit? But anyway, it's a very lovely email.
The detail about turning over vinyls like precious stones. That is, there is something about vinyl records that is exactly like that, isn't it? They're artifacts that are imbued with. I have my father's 78s collection, and that is, it is like a sort of living, breathing embodiment of the stuff he loved, because he collected 78s and Jelly Roll Morton records, and I love those.
Also,
records.
they're very tactile, and they have a smell, and they have a heft, don't they? So.
Yeah, well, 78s have a heft. I mean, you could take someone's head off with a 78. They're really, really heavy.
Back in my Radio Nottingham days, I produced a show of dance music from the 20s and 30s, and all the music was on 78. I didn't present it. It was a guy called Ron Stevens who presented it. And I had to put them on, cue them up and so on. And then when I'd played them, I'd put them on the floor. And I had a wheelie chair like this one. And there were a couple of moments when I wheeled the chair back and just heard that cracking sound, which let you know that very rare vinyl, that 78 disc, which he'd had for like 60 years... That's
because that is the one thing about those. They don't flex. They just crack.
Absolutely,
they just crack.
Okay, streamers box office top 10 at number 18, La Syndicaliste,
which I thought was a very interesting film. Isabelle Huppert is the star of it. It is based on a true story, a story of which I did not know. So it's a political drama, but for me, it was very much carried by Huppert, who is utterly convincing in the lead role.
Number 10 in the UK, Satyaprem Ki Katha.
So not press screened.
I got that right.
Not press screened. So if anyone's seen it, please send us an email and let us know. And same for number 9,
which is Carry On Jatta 3. Number 8, number 5 in the States, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Of all the Transformers movies, it's the second best. So it's not, it's not Bumblebee, but it's not the Michael Bays.
7 in the UK, 7 in the States is The Flash.
So this has really started to sink fairly fast. This is number 3 this is the third week, and it's number 7, and underperforming appears to be the way of the blockbusters at the moment. We'll talk about this more when we talk about Indiana Jones, but yes, it's definitely on the way down.
James in London. On the subject of The Flash. Dear Flash and The Flash. I recently listened...
It's quite scary.
I recently listened to Mark's
Gordon's alive.
Exactly. To Mark, talking about The Flash and wanted to refute his remark on being surprised that a film the size and with the budgetary scope of The Flash has some of the shonkiest VFX he has seen.
Yes. Okay. Is this from a VFX artist?
It is.
Okay,
I work. It's very interesting. Actually.
No, fine. Go ahead.
I work in a VFX and animation company in London, and without going into a Kermodian rant, because I know you like your correspondence short. Thank you. I can tell you that the VFX industry is in a bit of a mess. To get work, the VFX companies bid on a project. They all try to come in under each other's bids. For the larger studios, the Marvels and DCs of the world, the bids come in a lot lower, mainly because they have more projects in their pipeline. So the VFX companies are betting on potential repeat work over a longer period of time, but accepting much less payment. This has a massive negative effect, as a team which should have, say, 10 artists working on it only have 2, meaning double or triple the workload and longer working hours with no overtime for those 2 artists, all on the same short schedule. Bad. The other issue is something which I'm going to have to refer to as pixel fudging. This is where the studio/client will request erroneous, repeated, and just stupid changes to the shots just because they don't really know what they want, up until the last minute. This could be changing the entire third act, doing alternative versions of shots so they have a choice, or coming up with new shots because the script wasn't finished in time. It is mental. Put these 2 problems together and you can have, quote, shonky VFX in mainstream blockbuster films. Not because the VFX company or the dedicated and talented artists are trying to do a bad job. They're just overworked, understaffed, and tired of taking their pixels in a French way. Tickety-tonk, down with the Nazis and up with Freddie Mercury, James in London. So, So whilst you're absolutely right, it looks, from our point of view, the consumer, it looks shonky. That's the explanation as to why it might be so.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. That what they're saying is that it is shonky, and the reason it is shonky is because there's too much work for too little money being asked to be done, including all that stuff. And it is absolutely true. If you're a VFX artist at the moment, you are in the most pernicious position. You're at the sharp edge of this. I mean, I don't really remember. There was a thing a few years ago when people turned their Twitter icons green, because it was in support of VFX artists who weren't able to be unionized because they're all over the place and being paid tiny amounts of money to do really, really important work for very, very expensive movies. And the turning the Twitter icon green thing was, this is what you get if you don't have VFX artists. You have just a blank screen. It is absolutely true that the VFX industry is treated really appallingly by an industry which, which eats money and yet somehow seems to want to do this stuff, in a way that doesn't reflect the artistry and the hours that are put into it. And the reason I say it about The Flash is, if you're throwing all that other money around, spend the money on allowing VFX artists to do it properly and be properly remunerated. I mean, you remember, this all goes back to Life of Pi, when Life of Pi was an Oscar-winning movie, and at exactly the same time, the VFX industry was being threatened, because they're at the sharp edge of it. They are at the sharpest edge of when the industry decides to turn the screws and say who can do this cheapest and fastest. That's how it happens.
It does seem astonishing there, and we mentioned before, the last Jurassic Park movie, which suddenly looked a little bit shonky. This bit, and you're absolutely right in The Flash, where you just think, oh, really? And where it is so important, it is genuinely baffling to the cinema goer. You say, well, this is obviously going to, we know this isn't real. We know this is going to have special effects, VFX in it. You have to get, obviously you spend the money on getting the right director or the right cast, if that's what you think, Ezra Miller is. But you have to spend the money on that because it lives or dies by the effects.
The money and the time. And I think the very interesting point there is the fiddling around until the last minute, changing the third act, can you just fix this? Can you just fix that? And the most astute comment there was asking for changes because they don't know what they want. And my only comparison for that is, as a journalist, the worst thing you can have, and I haven't had this for many years, is an editor who doesn't know what they want. but just keep sending a piece back and asking you to change it because they don't know what they want. And you, as the freelance journalist, who's just getting paid the once for doing it, writes the piece 4 times, and you know it was fine the first time around. So no, shonky VFX are rarely the fault of the VFX artist and almost always the fault of the studios who do not treat the VFX industry with any respect at all.
James, thank you very much, Steve, for the email. Correspondence at kermodeandmayo.com. Forgot the email.
It's us.
8 left. Okay, we'll just go through. Right. UK number 6, 4 in America is No Hard Feelings.
It's like it appeared in a time warp from another age when Risky Business was still in the cinemas.
5 here, 9 in the States, Asteroid City. 4 here, 6 in the States, The Little Mermaid.
Kind of quite enjoyed that.
3 in the UK, 8 in America, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Cracker.
I thought it was good fun. Do we have any emails about Ruby Gillman?
We don't.
Oh, okay. I thought it was good fun. A good sort of coming of age story that was well done, and I loved the animation.
Number 2 here, number 2 in the States, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Still terrific. Number 2 in its 5th week. Take that, The Flash.
Child 3 went to see it. He just sent me a one-word message which just said amazing or fantastic. He absolutely loved it. And number 1 here, number 1 in the States, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yes.
Simon Walkden in Finchley. I saw Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny yesterday at the cinema. It feels like half Raiders of the Lost Ark and half Mamma Mia. Here we go again. Unfortunately, not the better halves of either of those films. But for action and knowing references, it passes the cut and shut test. Mike says, through my parents' divorce when I was a teenager, this, Indiana Jones, is the character I watched on screen more than anyone else. I didn't escape into books, I escaped into the well of the souls. I didn't go into this film wanting a rip-roaring action movie. I went in to say goodbye to an old friend and just hoping, he and I found some closure. After a fictional lifetime of leaving destruction in his wake, he was old. He was finally defeated, not by Nazis or cults, but by time, just like the rest of us. I think James Mangold did a very good job of giving the character an ending and slowly during the film shifting the balance of action to Phoebe Waller-Bridge so you could see the importance of youth. Harrison Ford deserves real credit for getting closer to the heart of the character than ever before. The final scene callback to Raiders was very well done, especially given the clear heartbreak that the character has suffered. Daniel O'Donnell, but not that one, says, Dear Henry Jones and Toby Jones, just back from a showing of the new Indiana Jones, I think, with my son, and we both absolutely loved it. Been a huge fan of the series since Raiders convinced my 10-year-old self to become an archaeologist. However, once I discovered it wasn't actually never-ending, whip-cracking, globe-trotting adventures, I soon changed my mind. This last installment was probably not necessary, even after the shambles of Crystal Skull, but it hit all the right notes of old-fashioned fun for an indie fan like me. I find it highly amusing that people, and I think Daniel might be looking at me here, that people have a problem with the third act of this movie when face-melting angels and magic cups that can cure gunshot wounds were all okay previously.
Yeah.
Mark referenced the old serials that these are based on, and these always mix preposterous, shonky mysticism with the pulp, so no one should be surprised. Anyway, love the show, Steve. Hello to Jason. Down with Nazis in disguise or otherise.
I did say when I was reviewing the film, yes, the final act is not so much FFS, but not so much WTF as OFFS, but it is true that in a series in which it's angels melting Nazis' faces, and most recently communing with space aliens in the lost city of Akatar or whatever it was, you can hardly go, well, I'm sorry, that's any more preposterous than that. Although it is utterly preposterous.
Yes. I did think it was. It was preposterousness of another scale.
Off the scale.
Altogether.
So, interestingly, although it's number 1, of course, all the news reports are that, this is the headline from Deadline, Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny's 82 million plus 5-day total is not far from the July the 4th disaster of Superman Returns. And so what they're all saying is, yes, it's gone in at number 1, but it has underperformed in terms of what a film that's that expensive should have done. It was close to 300 million. And the general allegation being thrown around is it doesn't have enough in it for the under 40s, that they haven't done anything to attract the new audience, and that nostalgia will, we are the target audience for this film.
Okay.
And you thought it's all right. But for that,
as we mentioned before, we saw it the day after we saw Mission Impossible, which for
we'll
me
talk about in a minute.
Is a 5-star movie, and this, in comparison, was really not up to snuff, really, I don't think. But anyway, but it's perfectly fine. It's a 3-star. I mean, it's got 2-star reviews, it's got 4-star reviews, and we're saying it's kind of in the middle.
It's in the middle. It's fine. It is exactly what it is. And I would say it's the old Indiana Jones movie. What did you expect?
Tim Gatwood Warner on our Facebook page. Indiana Jones and the film of utter tediousness. I felt every minute of its overinflated runtime. This should have been a fast-paced 90 minutes, 1950s Saturday morning serial. Instead, we get a turgid, overlong cash-in. Well, I think that's a little harsh. But anyway, once you've seen any of those movies or any of the new stuff, let us know about it. Correspondence@kermodeandmayo.com. More in a moment. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.